Hi guys, thanks for coming for the last clinic where we did talk about heart rate zone training. Now, most of you know that a lot of the devices that we wear these days come with a heart rate function. And most of you also know that heart rate readings or heart rate measurements is actually very important for any sort of exercise that we do for medical reasons. We don't want to over push ourselves. We don't want to be, we don't want to end up fainting somewhere and then nobody's around to help us. So that's why heart rate training or knowing your heart rate zones is actually very important. But what exactly is your maximum heart rate, and how do you get that number? Basically, before you start any sort of heart rate zone training, you need to know two things. First of all, you need to know how to get your maximum heart rate. Now, a lot of people say that the easiest and the most convenient formula is 220 minus your age. But 220 minus your age is actually the least accurate formula around. It is also something that is very inaccurate the moment you reach 30 and above. So actually, it's only accurate for those of you who are in your 20s or in your late teens. But once you go above 30, above 35, 220 minus your age is actually very, very inaccurate. A more accurate way of getting your heart rate is to, your heart rate zones is to use a heart rate reserve. Now, how do you get your heart rate reserve? Basically, you have your, you need to find out your resting heart rate, and then you need to find out your max heart rate. When you have these two numbers, you can use your maximum heart rate to minus off your resting heart rate, and that number is your heart rate reserve. Now, your heart rate zones should be based on that number. How do we get our maximum heart rate? Now, if you just Google it, if you just type it out, there are many different ways that you can get your maximum heart rate. The one we did in the clinic last time was actually running really fast for about 1 kilometer, okay, and then taking about 3 minutes rest, and then running really fast again. Oh, sorry, we did running really fast for 500 meters, and then taking 3 minutes rest, and then running really fast for another 500 meters. Now, we did that because we didn't have enough space that was safe enough for everybody to run, and also we didn't have enough time. But there are a few ways that you can test your own maximum heart rate. One of it is to do a 5 kilometer all-out run. So if you can find a space where you can run 5 kilometers all out, the best timing you can get, that is roughly 95% of your maximum heart rate. Okay, the highest heart rate that you achieve in that 5 kilometer run, that will be roughly 95% of your maximum heart rate. That's one way to test it. Another way to test it is similar to what I did at the clinic last time, but the more proper formula is actually to run, do a proper warm-up. Okay, make sure you have about 10 minutes or 15 minutes of easy running, get yourself properly warmed up, and then run 300 meters, run 3 minutes and go as fast as you can. Give yourself 3 minutes break, and then run again 3 minutes as fast as you can. Like really the fastest that you've ever done. Now, your highest heart rate recorded in the second time you run your 3 minutes, that should be your maximum heart rate. That's one of the tests. Another test would be using the 1 mile test. So 1 mile is 1.6 kilometers. If you have a stadium track, one round around the track is 400 meters. 1.6 kilometers means 4 rounds. So what you do is you do a tempo meaning the run that you're comfortable with, something that you run with during your race day. So you run around 4 laps around the track, that gives you 1 mile, and then you run the 5th lap faster than that pace, and then you run the 6th lap at the very fastest that you can. So without any breaks, no breaks at all. So altogether there will be 6 rounds that you'll be running around the track. So the highest heart rate that you recorded during the last lap, that should be your 100% maximum heart rate. Okay, so once you get that figure, for some of us it's a lot higher, 180, 185, 190. For myself, is roughly around 165. I don't think I've ever crossed 165. So my maximum heart rate is about 165. And the next thing you need to know is your resting heart rate. So your resting heart rate, the best time to get it is when you have just woken up in the morning. Sit by the side of your bed and measure your heart rate, either using a device or counting it manually. Take 1 minute. Okay, so my resting heart rate is roughly around 55. Okay, so if my maximum, my resting heart rate is 55 and my maximum heart rate is 165, so my heart rate reserve is 110. Okay, so the zones that I'm going to give you, zone 1 to zone 5, is going to be based on this heart rate reserve, 110. So if you're using this heart rate reserve formula, the 5 zones will start somewhere around 60% or 65%. Okay, 65 to 75. Zone 2 starts from 75 to 85. Zone 3 starts 85 to 95. Zone 4 is 95 to somewhere before 100. And Zone 5 is 100 and above. That is using the heart rate reserve formula, which they claim is actually very accurate for people who are people who are well trained, athletes who are well trained. Okay, another easier way is to use your maximum heart rate. So don't worry about your resting so much. Maximum heart rate. Okay, let's say you get 190 or 180. Most people it's around 180. So that is your maximum heart rate. Then you take zone 1 to 5. You have zone 1 is 50% to 60%, 60 to 70%, 70 to 80%, 80 to 90, and then you finish with zone 5, which is 90 to 100%. If you have one of these wearable smartwatches that has all the functions, most likely it will also create the zones for you, so you don't have to do it manually. But if you don't, come up with an Excel spreadsheet and just key in those information right there. Why do we need to know our heart rate zones, and why is it important for us to take note of the start and the end of each zone? Basically, there's a few reasons. One reason, like I mentioned earlier, is for medical reasons. We don't want to push ourselves too far, too fast. This will also help. This will definitely promote injury. It will also diminish our eagerness to run again the next time, so we may not be so eager to train for a running event. There's another reason is, of course, we know when to train certain training. So if you've been following our running clinic, we have days where we do slow runs, tempo runs. We have days where we actually do zone 5 runs, like speed training, like the previous clinic. All of these trainings have their purpose and their reason and their place in our whole training program. So at the start of the program, we want to do a bit more speed training, a bit more tempo pace, intermixed with slow runs. But towards the middle and the end, the training changes to something that is more race specific. So if you're training for a 42K, the distance is more towards that sort of distance, and you also want to be able to run at the pace that you want to run with during your race. Okay, so it changes. So knowing the heart rate zones helps you plan your program better. Okay, it also keeps you in check so that you don't push yourself too hard in your race as well. So if you're going to do a 21 or a 42, you're not going to start off straight away at a zone 4 or a zone 5. You want to start off at a zone 3, slowly make your way up to a zone 4, and then once you are towards the end, I would say maybe you need the last 2 to 5 kilometers. You want to gradually go into a zone 5 and then just hammer it down all the way into the finish. That way you're not going to burn out too soon, you're not going to hit the wall too soon, and you're going to be able to finish strong.